So if you say Trump or Biden, who would you vote for?
Trump.
You know, it's funny.
Trump.
You know when I ask those immigrants, guess who they say?
What?
Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
Biden. I love you, Biden.
You love Biden?
I love you, Biden. I love you.
Biden.
I know it because Biden let them come over here. Trump knew what was going on.
Yeah.
That's why he wanted them to build
That's
that
why
wall.
he wanted that wall. He didn't want the wall from Mexico.
Yeah.
He wanted the wall because that's how they gonna make it over here through Mexico.
Trump even said it.
But I know they talking about Democrat. I ain't no Democrat.
Yeah.
And if you want to say anything,
I was
Trump,
a Democrat. Not anymore. Not
I
anymore.
was. I thought I was.
I'm telling you.
I thought I was.
Yeah.
I thought I was.
Yeah.
You know, but I see that was only just a brainwashed theory of that. They brainwashed us or had us fight. No, I'm with Trump, whether he's a Republican, a racist, or whatever he is. I'm with Trump. I'm with Trump too.
Yeah, you know, they could.
Hey, hello, good evening. Welcome to Behind Enemy Lines. Terry Newsom, deep in a bunker in the communist state of B.J. Prickster's state. And I'm alone tonight, so my work wife, Paul Drabick, I know you're watching. Paul's the work wife. He's in Vegas having fun right now, so don't have too much fun, Paul. And so I'm going to be winging it alone here tonight myself. So we have a pretty cool, interesting show. That clip was showing some examples of how some of the folks in the city of Chicago are fed up. You know, they're fed up with the porn, the disrespect. The illegals now really push the minority community over the edge. They're tired. They're tired of being used as pawns. And I think what's going on with Chicago throughout the country and these blue states, it exposed the truth and the reality of the Democrats don't give a shit. Sorry, Don Krause, I'm sorry. My partner's not here to keep me on track. Sorry, I swore. I'm not supposed to swear. I'm sorry. So anyway, the minority communities are really, they feel betrayed by the Democrats. You know, I was a Democrat too. I wised up a long time ago, and before many of my family members have. And I think like Chicago is going to probably, I don't think it's going to go red. I hope it does. I don't think it will, but I bet you there's going to be a dramatic shift for Donald Trump in the next election. So before we get started, you know, I'm talking about being here without my work wife, Paul. Sorry, Paul, I had to make fun of you. Without Paul being here, and everyone knows Paul's done a lot of shows by himself. And Paul goes a little deeper in the content than me. So I was telling Jason, our tech guy, I said, listen, I'm not going to have Paul here. He's got all the content. He's got a better memory than me. He goes deeper than me. I'm not going to do as good as him because I don't have all the deep knowledge and content and that memory that I ruined in the 80s and 90s to help support me as I go through this show. You know what Jason says? He goes, don't worry, you're a Dago. You guys are used car salesmen. That's racist. Right? I mean, Jesus Christ, we sell new cars too. So anyways, so we're going to have a pretty interesting show tonight. I was going to say from a local perspective, but this is national, right? It was a busy week for me. I was one of the 4 petitioners. It's down to 2 right now that filed a petition to keep diaper Joe Biden off the ballot. And as everyone knows in the country, and if you Google search it, you only see Trump, right? They're trying to keep Donald Trump off the ballot in Colorado, Illinois, Maine. And then there was a story earlier this week that there's like 30-some states that are trying to keep this guy off the ballot. And they're using Amendment 14, Section 3. And in that, it says insurrection. And we all know that the insurrection was bullshit. I was there. It was hard for me during the hearing, and I think you'll hear some of this stuff later, right, Jason? For me to keep my mouth shut, right? So there was no insurrection. It was fake. There was no planned insurrection by Donald Trump. I wouldn't have went to D.C. if there was an insurrection planned. I wouldn't have left my hotel that morning if I got down there and there was an insurrection plan. So that's bullshit. So you're going to hear a little bit about that, and you're going to hear about the bias and the hypocrisy of the Illinois election board, right? And you got to keep in mind, all these jamokes that are put on the election board are appointed by B.J. Prickster, right? So even the Republicans, the state of Illinois has the Illinois GOP, and those people are very weak, man. All of them are weak, right? And one of the reasons they're weak is because they have to accept the scraps that the Democrats, we have a super majority of the Democrats, a super minority of the Republicans. So if you want to stay in office and if you don't want them to hit you hard, you got to kiss the ass of the Democrats. Just like Senator John Curran, who takes money from the teachers union, the plumbers. You know, he refuses to speak up about the porn in his daughter's school, right? Because he was bought off, right? Right, Jason? And so we're at a disadvantage here. And part of the reason why Paul and I call this behind enemy lines, this really applies to the whole country. But in Illinois, we're fighting on two fronts behind enemy lines. We have the Democrats, right? They're very strong, organized, coordinated. They've been like cheating forever, right? And then we got the feckless Republicans that they don't even want to speak out against, like when they run for office and school boards, they don't even want to say porn is bad. John Curran doesn't want to say porn is bad. He's scared. So we're at a huge disadvantage. That's part of this show, and we're going to expose some of that stuff. So let me see some of the notes that my buddy left me here. So we're going to talk about some of the news that happened this week. We got the petition for the Biden ballot to remove Biden. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Trump. Right before our case, these radical Marxist leftists were there to try to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. The good news is Donald Trump is going to stay on our ballot, right? Not because they wanted to keep him on the ballot, but they're kind of reverting to the Supreme Court, and it should be that way, right? So, there's some people on the right that were, whining, oh, wow, we shouldn't be doing this, and we shouldn't be, we did this. You know what? It's a win-win for us. The reason we did this petition is a win-win for us, right? No other Republicans had the balls to try to keep Trump off the ballot in North America, right? I hope the Supreme Court throws this out. I really do. But if they don't, we were going forward and filing a petition to throw Biden out for the very same bullshit that they're using against Donald Trump, except the difference is that Donald Trump really wasn't involved in an insurrection, right? He didn't start an insurrection. He wasn't guilty for the violence, and you'll hear later in this clip from the so-called Republican. I forgot her name. We'll hear. He wasn't responsible for the insurrection. But what we do know is that Joe Biden is responsible for the open borders. We know Joe Biden didn't listen to the Supreme Court, right, when they said to remain in Mexico policy. We know that Joe Biden left $80 billion of military equipment in Afghanistan for the Taliban, and it's now being used against our soldiers, our men and women in Iraq. It's also being used, Hamas has their hands on it in Israel. So he's doing that on purpose. And then he also went to the Supreme Court. Biden went to the Supreme Court to force Abbott in the state of Texas to not protect their own borders. And that's supposed to be the priority of the president, right, is to protect us, protect our borders. And that piece of crap went to the Supreme Court about cutting down the barbed wire and all that stuff you guys seen, right? Why would he do that? It's not to help us. It's not to help Texas. It's to help his interest of providing aid and comfort to our enemies. That's China, Iran, the drug cartels, the terrorists. We got 300 and some terrorists that came into our country since Biden took office. I think there was help me, Jason, 12 under Trump, So he knows what's going on, right? Go ahead. You could jump in here with me.
Yeah, then they want to pass the bill where they call it the Border Protection Bill, and they want to let 5,000 immigrants in a month illegally, and that adds up to quite a bit. Or no, I'm sorry, a day, not a month, a day. And then when they hit the 5,000 mark, they'll close the border.
Yeah. So for those of you that are from local to DGTRO, this is what I call this? Jim Mendrix juice. Jim Mendrix, Sheriff Mendrix juice. That's what the name of this is.
Gotta drink the Kool-Aid.
You got to live in the neighborhood to know what that means, right, Sheriff? So anyways, let's move on here. So we're talking about the border crisis. I forgot to mention, I got a super cool guest on, Jeff Zink. Jeff Zink is from Arizona, and it ties into what I just said here. I'm supposed to say Jeff's name at the end, but he's gonna be on at 7:30. Jeff Zink is running for Congress in Arizona. His son Ryan is running for Congress in Texas. One of the reasons that drove Jeff, as well as his son, to run for Congress is that Jeff's son, Ryan, was at January 6th. And do you guys remember after January 6th when the left, the media was lying about many things? But at that time honestly, I was there. It was hard. You know, you see the stuff on the news. You see the J6 committee, which is full of radical leftist lies. And that's all coming out right now, right? Thank God it's coming out. But if you guys remember, Officer Sicknick, they said he was killed because he was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. Remember that? And later came out that was an absolute lie. Never was hit with the fire extinguisher ever.
So if you say,
What the hell was that?
Actually, the camera froze up.
But you played something. I heard some noise.
Yeah, that was an accident. What is going on? It says it's on.
Breaker 19. Cameras froze, so if you guys can see me, it doesn't look like it on my camera.
The program blinked out for a second, and it's like froze up. But it shows it's still streaming. So you're streaming, I just can't see what's going on.
I'm not sure if you guys can see me, so let me call my work wife right now. Can you see me?
And if I stop, it's going to end the stream.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
Call John real quick. Oh, wait, it moved for a second. I have no clue what's going on here. Oh, it's working again.
All right. So can you put that up there? I can't see it. All right. Sorry, guys. Can you see that? Sorry about that. Yeah. All right. So where was I?
I think we were about to play the IFA commercial here.
No, we weren't. So you guys
What
remember?
about your guess?
I got a bad memory. So the 1980s, like, was rough. 1980s, 90s. You guys know me. It was rough. You see the little bumps on my head and stuff. So I got a bad memory. So I forgot where the hell we were. I was talking about Jeff Zink's son, right? And they said he hit this cop in the head with a fire extinguisher. That's not true. That was a lie. So anyway, let's play this IFA commercial so we could keep this thing moving. I did a little Paul Drabeck. I talked too long. Sorry, Paul. You playing that? Can you play that?
We're going to play it here. I'm just trying to make sure the stream's still going.
Yeah, the screen's going. I'm looking at it.
Well, that is just what we're seeing. Yes, we are going.
So while we're waiting for that, all right, hey, everybody. So Before we jump back into the show, we're going to have my friend Vicky Finnegan's hosting an event on February 17th at Stonebridge Church. She's going to have a lot of different speakers. We're going to have this up on our website. This is a last-minute inclusion for us. And, Vicky, this is for you. We're going to put it on our website. Lisa put this on our website. So I want to keep moving here. So we're going to go through some of the local stuff here, right? You ready, Jason? Before we invite Jeff and show. So we had a number of stories that Paul Drabick, my partner, wrote a number of stories that have been put out. There you go, Paul. That have been published in the Gateway Pundit, even though it says somebody else. Paul published these stories and is talking about some of the things that we've been fighting with respect to Joe Biden, right? So I just wanted to make sure, he's putting a lot of time in publishing these stories. And I can't help Paul in these stories because my spelling and writing and everything's so bad, like spell check can't even figure out what the hell I'm writing. So Paul is doing a great job. He's writing and publishing these stories about our interactions and fights against Joe Biden. What's interesting is that, and I think we're going to talk about this later, right, Jason, about the petition against Trump and Biden, right? So we're just going to fly through the next one. So Paul's writing these stories, guys. You got to look at Gateway Pundit. Look up Terry Newsom in case you need to, search, or Joe Biden in Illinois. So this, which one is this here? This is about. Oh my God, yeah, this is good notes here, Paul. So this is about Governor B.J. Prickster. He's not going to let the cops pull people over for. Lack of registration, lights out, mirrors, nothing, right? This is to protect illegals, drug cartels, I think everyone in Illinois knows you don't want to go out and target and harass and pull people over because of the race, color, or whatever, right? You want to say something, Jason?
Yeah, if they didn't make it like $300 to register your car, a lot of more people that are low income would do it.
Yeah. So this is another example of B.J. Prickster going out of his way, right, to make us a lawless state. A lawless state. This is the same guy that's going to allow pornography and tampon machines in my kids' boys' bathrooms, right? This is the same guy that's going to have police officers or law enforcement illegal. So we're going to have illegal aliens that have the ability to get hired by law enforcement because of B.J. Prickster. What's the next one we got here? Evidence of lives at which one we got up there? Oh, hey, that's me. The guy next to me, across from me, that's Joe Biden's attorney, Jim. His family's from the South Side. I like him. I don't agree with anything of what he believes in. I was a Democrat from the Southwest Side. I like the guy. You can see my facial expression there. I was like, what the hell? They're saying, you know what they said in our petition? They said about Joe Biden's open borders, right? We claimed that Joe Biden is providing comfort and aid to our enemies, right? And so everybody in the whole world knows that Joe Biden, after he took over from Trump, the wall's done, everything. He put like 90 executive orders to stop everything that Trump did as it relates to immigration, right? And I'm listening to this guy. I kind of have a South Side bond, even though it was his family and stuff. Jim, I don't think you're going to see this, but everything he said was bullshit, political bullshit and lies. So our accusations about Biden and the comfort of aid is that he's letting the border stay open. He also allowed $80 billion in military equipment and weapons left behind for the Taliban, right? We know that. And now it's being used against her. And so this attorney is sitting here telling us during his petition to remove, during his request to remove our petition, to throw it out, which these scumbags from Illinois threw out, said that everything that we're saying is lies. Basically lies. He said it's inaccurate. It's hearsay. It's politically motivated. But what, on the other hand, the guys are going against Trump. We're using the J6 committee hearing. And they're letting that be, put forth and saying that that's okay. But our stuff, I mean, J6 committee, are you kidding me? That's the most biased bullshit you ever heard. And then we got that other guy, Adam, what's his name from, what's Adam, Kissinger. Yeah. And him and, what's his name? I see it in my head. The daughter.
Princess Cheney.
Yeah, Cheney. Yeah. So I know you guys are probably, my friends are laughing at me right now. So yeah, Cheney, those pieces, those scumbags, right? So they call it. So Trump, the people that were objecting to Trump and then wanted him thrown off the petition, they said, "Oh, this was highly bipartisan, not partisan, right?" Because of those two dirtbags. What's the next one we got, buddy? Libs of TikTok. Oh, I like those graphs. Okay. Whoa. Oh my God.
Can't hear you, buddy.
Can you hear me? Who's that? You got Jeff on hold?
You're muted, Terry.
Breaker 19. So can you mute Jeff right now? Give me a few minutes, Jeff.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah. Can you give me a few minutes? I'm closing here.
Sure.
Thank you. Jason, did you fix that? Yeah. All right. So, Libs of TikTok. So this is, so Paul, my work wife, I know you hate that, Paul. He's an Army vet. He hates it. I don't like him messing around. So Libs of TikTok is saying that the birth rates, right? The birth rates in America are, I forgot what it was, 300 and some thousand. But the illegals that are coming into the United States of America are more than the birth rates. What does that mean? We got these illegal asylum seekers that are coming into the United States of America. There's more of them than what we're having birth of legal citizens of the United States of America. And that's what the Democrats are trying to do, right? And think about it. All of the blue states, right? Illinois, New York, California, everyone's getting the hell out of these states. They're losing congressional seats. And Paul, I said this a long time ago before anyone else, like these smart people on the news, right? So they're losing congressional seats. So what are we doing? These Democrats are pumping in all these illegal aliens into the blue states. You got Governor Prickster, you got Johnson, you got the other Jamoke from New York pretending that they don't like this, they don't want it, right? In reality, they're going to be knocking up their head count for the census in 2030. So you know what's going to happen in 2030? They're going to have so many illegals. We got like 10 million right now, right? By the time 2030 comes around and they're having babies like bunnies, right? That 10 million is going to be 15 million. And they're going to have so many congressional seats added that we will never win them back. Never win them back. So this is really important. We had to fight really hard because if what we think is going to happen with these congressional seats, we're done. We got to stop this stuff. What's the next one?
The next one is
American weapons in Afghan withdrawal.
our Missouri Attorney General threatens to file suit. Yeah, for the
Al-Shabaab. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a chicken kebab like earlier this week. I wonder if it's a joke, Jason. So the Biden regime, after Al-Shabaab terrorists is caught and released at the U.S. border, I think all of us saw, there's been 300 some terrorists coming in, right? And I think we saw this week that in New York, did you see those police officers getting pummeled? Oh my God, I just beeped out of my Slack there. So if you saw all those police officers being pummeled by those scumbags, right? Those scumbags beat up the cops. And then they were let out like within, an hour? And then they're giving us the finger. And you guys, if please, if you're watching our show, whatever platform, you're going to see when I confronted a Venezuelan in Downers Grove, the guy's doing his gang sign. And then you're going to see when I confronted another Venezuelan in his pink hat at the train station, he's doing his V thing, and I got the Statue of Liberty crying between the two of them. That represents what's going on in America. So if you're on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, look for that meme that we put together. Jason put it together, right? That represents what's going on. Our police officers are being beaten, pummeled, and these scumbag Democrats are letting them out. within an hour. And think about it. We got people sitting in prison. And Jeff and I are going to talk about what they're trying to do to his son. I got some guys I personally know, that didn't even fight with the police. One guy's got a year, another guy got 3 years, and then we just had a bunch of scumbags, gang members, pummeling police, kicking them in the heads, and they're out in an hour. I got my friend, my Cook County Sheriff buddy that was with me at J6, who told me when all this stuff happened, he's like, God, if we get beat up here in Chicago, we're lucky if these scumbags get arrested. This is a perfect example of what just happened in New York. This is unacceptable. All right, what's the next one? I'm going to have some more Sheriff Mendrick juice right here. Hey, Mendricks, I'm not done with you. Oh, yeah. So this ties into Hamas, right? This ties into what I'm going to talk about with Jeff. Comfort and aid, providing comfort and aid to our enemies, right? So Biden, he left these weapons behind. And, oh, my God, we're not going to even get into my videos. Holy shit, we ran out of time, right?
We'll just go longer.
All right, we'll go longer.
We'll do them after Jeff.
So anyway, this ties into what I said, right? Joe Biden left all that equipment, right? Military equipment and weapons in the hands of the Taliban. And Joe Biden also, by the way, before he did that departure of Afghanistan, he declared, he took them off the list of being terrorist organizations. Joe Biden's a traitor. His son's a scumbag. And he's the worst thing. Actually, I used to say this about Barack Hussein Obama. He's the worst thing that happened in America since the Civil War. And I believe in that. I believe in that about Mr. Obama. And then Biden's just he's a puppet of Obama. So let's bring Jeff in, all right?
All right, yeah, let's get to Jeff here. I got Jeff moving. Hold on, let me get him up on the screen.
Jeff, we're coming. Just so you know, you folks that are looking, I'm looking up there. We got a monitor up there. I saw him looking up there.
Okay, there we go.
Hey,
Can you hear me
what's
now?
up, man? Yeah. I don't know if you heard any of what I was saying or if you were on like mute.
I did. I did hear it about when you said, "Hey, I'm trying to finish up here." Yeah, the thing is that what is going on at the border with this regime that we have? They want to overthrow our government, and the Democrats actually want to do this so that you have the elitist and again, people like you and myself, Terry.
Yeah.
We're going to own nothing, and we're going to like it, and because we're going to be told that's what we like.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's not what America's all about. And so I'm down here. I'm in San Jacinto, California. I'm less than a mile away. I could literally throw a rock and hit the border of where I'm staying. And we're trying to bring light to the military-age men that do not have any women with them, no children, no nothing like that. They are coming across our border. We now know that we have several terrorists that have crossed the border that are now in America. One of them actually even said, you know, when they ask, who are you? And he goes, oh, you'll know who I am soon enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, that means that he's going to do something very nefarious, like what they've done as far as the Twin Towers on September the 11th. You know, this is something that we have to bring to light, let people know and understand that the Democrats are overthrowing our own government, and the people of America are being complacent and are just allowing it to happen. So people like myself running for Congress and in Arizona and everything else, we're not going to allow that. So I'm in the fight, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So real quick, right? I talked a little bit about you and your son and why you're running, right? But I would like it to come from you, right? What drove you to run? Your son. I explained, but do the elevator pitch. I was there. I was at January 6th. The leftists. When I say, I was proudly at January 6th. I was proud to be there. I went to support our president, and I went for two reasons, and then to protect people from being beat up by those scumbags from Antifa. That's why I went there. I didn't know about an insurrection. I wouldn't have went if there was an insurrection. I'm sure your son or anyone would have went. There was no plan. It's a lie. So please, talk a little bit about, yourself and your son, because it's really important that we share the message about that. And just so you know, I don't know if you could see, I'm wearing this sport jacket for you, buddy. I have people running for Congress in the state of Illinois, but you're my first like real congressional candidate. So I'm like, I got to get dressed up for Jeff.
Well, I appreciate that. The thing is that what happened, and one of the things that, on this side, which is the green ribbon, that is the J6 ribbon that I've worn on my lapel. And the thing is that I went for a completely different reason. I actually recognized that there's a chance that we were going to have a constitutional election, that I knew that Arizona was going to challenge the electoral votes. And there was a good chance that Georgia and Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Nevada was also going to. Well, with that many states, neither one, the President Trump or candidate-elect Biden, would have obtained 270 electoral college votes, which is what you have to have in order to become a president. Well, the thing is that I recognize that, and I thought, you know what? We're going to have the first constitutional election. I want to be there. I'm running for Congress, and I want to see this firsthand. And so I went there, and sure enough, when Paul Gosar stood up and Ted Cruz also signed off on the paperwork, Arizona was the first and only state that actually stood up and challenged the electoral votes. Now, it just so happened, by coincidence, and I always use that very, very loosely, that as soon as they did that, then all of a sudden they started firing on the crowd down below. They started trying to antagonize them. And then we had our rioters that came in, and we have a whole nother deal. Now, since then, what has happened is that all of this evidence that has taken place. And so now I'm going to cover why it was there. But let's talk about what happened. So my son and I were behind the barriers, and all of a sudden we started hearing this bullhorn that says, hey, we're trying to work with Capitol Police. We're going to go to the Capitol steps. And they then had the Capitol Police then get on and stated that we know that this is your house, meaning that we, the people, and the Congressional and Senate House, Congress House, is the people's. And so we're going to try to get you to the steps of the Capitol. Now, we heard that, and probably about 15, 20 minutes after that, then people on the left and the right started going towards the Capitol. All of this came out in my son's trial. And the thing is that it shows clearly the two of us standing behind there. And then all of a sudden we have a cop, a Capitol Police, who then does this. He starts waving people to come towards the Capitol. And at that point, people then take the barriers, they open them up. We have nothing to do with it. Then you can see clearly my son and I walking towards that Capitol. After we get to the steps, then there's another move towards the doors. And so my son and I go to the right on the porch. And then that's where we capture video, which I have shown and which was played in Brian's trial, that showed not only did we video someone else who was damaging the building, but they got convicted because of how much pressure I was putting on, because I was a congressional candidate at that time. And it clearly states in there that my son says, just leave them alone. They're doing their job, referring to the Capitol Police when they were arresting Hunter Emke. And they said, he's breaking the law, just leave them alone. And so we sat down and we looked at that and we played that in his trial. What's really interesting is there were three charges that was filed on January the 8th. Okay, now think about this. We were there on January the 6th. On January the 8th, a special agent, and he's special, all right, federal agent Mike Brown, perjured himself 3 times before that. He stated that my son entered into the Capitol, that he fought with Capitol Police, and that he was directly responsible for Brian Sicknick's death. Now, at the time, if everybody remembers, there was a Capitol Police officer that they said was hit over the head with a fire extinguisher and was murdered that day.
Yeah.
It then turned out later that that was not true, that none of that had happened, and that he died of an aneurysm that was not related to the J6 events.
Jeff, the only person, just sorry to interrupt, the only person that was murdered that day was from our side.
Actually, we had 5.
Yeah.
So
well,
we had
So yes, I stand corrected.
Brian Gleason.
Yeah. So
And
when I
Ashley
say blatant, Ashley was blatantly murdered, right? And some of the
Correct.
the fighting and the other things led to the deaths of the other people. But for all of America, it's very easy to see. I have friends that are ex-ATF agents. You guys are probably watching, and they're retired. I wouldn't say it. They're retired. One was a supervisor, and my Cook County Sheriff buddy that they're trying to figure out who he was that was with me. He's probably watching too. I've been friends since high school. All 3 of them, we hang out here in the backyard. That cop had no right to shoot her, Ashley. No, I mean, you know this, right? There was no probable cause. She wasn't a threat. All of them. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make that very clear that it wasn't even close. That guy should have never discharged his gun whatsoever. So go ahead.
Well, and actually, myself, I'm trained weapons because of my training that I have, and I have a concealed to carry weapons as well. And the thing is that I never pull my gun unless I'm going to use it. That's what they train you.
You're not supposed to pull your gun unless you're not supposed to pull it out unless your life's threatened and you're in a position where you might have to kill. So when you shoot, you're supposed to shoot to kill. Whatever these people say, it's bullshit, right? When you shoot your weapon,
you don't do warning shots. Yeah. You don't do any of that stuff. And when you're truly trained, you never pull your weapon unless you're going to use it.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that for myself, I sat and I looked at that, and I looked at her actions and his actions, and he was clearly out of line. And one of the things is when I get to Congress, I promise you, not only will I go after him to make sure that he is investigated properly, because he's already been investigated and cleared of all wrongdoing. I'm sorry, whoever cleared him was not trained in what's taking place. And there were probably 10 things just in the small window that you get to see. There's 10 things that are violations that I'm sitting here going, you don't do these types of things and stuff. And so we've got to go back and take a look at that.
Jeff, tell me if I'm wrong. I know this guy did some interviews, and I think some of these interviews, once we get the right people in place legally, can be used against some of it could be used against him for some of the things he said, right? Right?
Correct. Just like this interview here, the prosecutor for my son's trial has stated that everything that I have said is going to be used against me when they come after me. Well, I'm sitting here going, do it, because not only was I cleared by the FBI, see, the only difference between my son and myself, we were together 100% of the time. The difference, he posted live on Facebook. I didn't post anything until after we got home. And then we started looking at the videos and looking at the pictures and everything else. And then, of course, they break down my son's door, confiscate his camera, his video, his computer, and then they gained access to all of his social media. So guess what ended up happening? They deleted over 1,000 pictures and over several dozen videos that my son had, and took control of all of his social media, and then destroyed all of his pictures that he had on his social media, except for the ones that
they
only
wanted.
taint him in a bad light.
So Jeff, I because we've been talking for a few months now, right? So I was there, and I was, as you know, I was put on a domestic terrorist watch list 2 years after the fact. And me and my cop buddy, who the leftists and sedition hunters are trying to figure out what his name is, we left before people went in. We were there, when they were shooting people. I got video coughing. I wasn't on the line there, and they're shooting in the crowd. To your point, people got upset. I was with a cop. We had a Blue Lives Matter flag. If you're fighting with police officers, you should be in trouble. I was with a cop, right? Those people that did that. But there was other things going on that people aren't talking about, right? And then what really upsets me is you saw what happened yesterday. You got these scumbags from gang members from other countries pummeling a police officer, kicking him in the head, right? Kicking him when he's down, and then they're out in 30 minutes. They're out in 30 minutes. And then we got guys sitting in jail for 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. I got a couple guys that didn't even fight with police. One guy got a year. Another young kid, 22 years old with twins, his flagpole hit the shoulder of a cop, but they didn't have a cop. They didn't know who the cop was to testify against him. And this kid has never even got a speeding ticket. He's got 3 years in jail.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's part of the process is the punishment. And what I have maintained all along in this two-tiered system, you are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Today, you're guilty until proven Democrat. And it's the difference between Hunter Emke, who actually damaged the Capitol building by kicking in and punching 5 windows. He got 4 months incarceration, 3 years probation, and $2,921 restitution. Now, you look at my son, who did not fight with the Capitol Police, actually was told to stand and take pictures. When we heard that shots were fired and that they had a active shooter now on there, the police officer came to me and said, "You're a congressional candidate, correct?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You need to get behind us." So my son and I, they gave up their backs to us. All of this came out in my son's trial. And we have a transcript of everything. And yet it did not matter that we were there and they were protecting me, the Capitol Police, for this active shooter until they found out who, what it was going on. And then they asked us, they said, "Sir, you need to leave the premises. This is becoming unsafe." And I said, "You have no problem. I am gone." And my son and I vacated the area as fast as we could at that point, and we left. And yet my son is now facing 21 years in federal penitentiary for never going inside the Capitol, never fighting with Capitol Police, and not responsible for Brian Sicknick's death. And when all of this came out that he was helping the Capitol Police and helping to incarcerate another person, the prosecutor was screaming at the top of her lungs in closing deliberation, Trump, Trump, Trump. It's Trump. He voted for Trump, Trump, and she just incited the jury, and they convicted him on for the one reason only, is he's a Trump supporter. And I'm sorry, in this country, you are innocent and you can put up a First Amendment defense. Oh, that's right. Judge Jeb Boasberg, this horrible judge, federal judge, stated that my son could not put on a First Amendment defense. Mm-hmm. He also, when we asked to dismiss the trial because they dropped the charges of entering into the Capitol and dropped the charge of killing Brian Sicknick, they said, well, if he didn't go in, then he didn't fight, and so let's dismiss it. Judge Jeb Boasberg, this worthless federal judge, stated, Ryan's guilty of a crime. We just have to have the trial. So that's how we entered into his trial, was this worthless judge. And I've stated this multiple times on multiple podcasts and everything else. I'm poking the bear. This guy here absolutely needs to be put behind prison himself for not following the constitutional law, which as a federal judge, he's took an oath. And oh, by the way, he has an altered oath, which makes his oath null and void. Yeah, that's the reason Jeff, why he's doing what he's doing.
As a father, right, for me, and it had to be so hard for you to sit there and stay silent while this piece of shit was saying this and doing these things and quarterbacking the trial, with your son, and listening to these prosecutors, knowing it's a lie, outright lie. I mean, I was there. I mean, and I see that's why I'm so proud and glad to have you on the show. And like, I'm speaking out, and I'm one of the petitioners against Biden, right, in Illinois, to keep. I don't, that, right, to keep him off the ballot in Illinois. Right. Did you know that? And you know what I'm worried about is, like, remember on the J6 anniversary this year, you have one of these scumbags that works for Biden said they're going to go after people for trespassing, which would mean you and me, right?
Right.
People like
absolutely.
Us. And I'm sitting there thinking, holy shit. I was on the news all week. This guy, Biden, did provide aid and comfort to our enemies. Unlike Trump. Trump didn't, you were there. There was no insurrection. Trump didn't talk to anybody about being in an insurrection. Trump didn't promote any violence. I didn't even know about going to the Capitol until January 6th at 6 in the morning in the hotel lobby. It's all lies. And then to have you as a father sit there, it's got to be heartbreaking. I could imagine, just knowing, who you are and what I talked to you, you want to get up and say something to these guys, and seeing your son, your child, being just treated like a criminal, and the guy didn't do anything wrong.
No, not at all. And the thing is that a lot of people have come to me and they said, all right, what makes you different? You're running for Congress. We send you to Congress. Why are you not going to do like every other congressman that we've sent? And I tell them very solidly, and any father should identify with what I'm about to say. I won't ever be a sellout for the federal government. And the reason why is they picked a fight with me. They came after my family. I can assure you that I would rather burn the whole place down and let's get rid of Washington, D.C. Let's divide it, put it all over the United States and divide this up. So the Supreme Court goes someplace, Congress goes another place, Senate goes to another place. We break this whole thing up so it's no longer just in Washington, D.C., and we start getting rid of all of that cesspool called the swamp and everything else. The thing is that the way I was raised, and Terry, you're raised just like I am. My father, if I started a fight, if I picked a fight, he wore my butt out. He did not ever want you to ever pick on anybody or to start a fight. But he also, if you got into a fight because somebody else drug you in, then you better finish that fight.
See, we said it at the same time. You better finish it. You better let those bastards know you got to beat them really good so that they don't come back again. Right?
That's right.
Sorry.
And so, one of the things that really is interesting is that it is those cowboy ways, those small town ways. I love Jason Aldean's song.
I was an Italian cowboy in the south side of Chicago. I wore a fedora, not a cowboy hat. I didn't wear a fedora. That's the old gangsters.
Yeah, that's right. So, and the thing is that Jason Aldean's song, try that in a small town. There's a lot of people that don't understand that small town people don't put up with a lot of stuff. And the thing is that these small or these large towns and cities, they've now become so woke that even in Phoenix, see, here's the scary part. Phoenix is supposed to have over 4,800 police officers. We barely have over 900. Mm-hmm. We do not have the police force in order to take care of anything. So in the middle of the night, we have guys that will drag race down our street going 100 miles an hour. We've had accidents.
For the people that aren't familiar with Arizona, can you kind of share like what your congressional district is and where it covers? Because I'm from Illinois, but we got people from all over the country. Can you kind of share your area?
So it's going to be south. It's areas of South Mountain, Levine, South Phoenix. They literally have cut out Tolleson out of my district, and they cut out parts of southeast Glendale. And then it goes all the way across and above the Sky Harbor Airport. And all of that is in my congressional district. So it literally is the center of Maricopa County. My congressional district does not touch any other counties. So Maricopa County, I represent all of Maricopa County as a congressional district. And here's the thing. When it was created in 2000, and we got our 9th congressional district, okay, Roel Grajava was the congressman. Then it went to Ed Pastor. Then it went to Ruben Gallego. Now, all three are Latino men, and we've gone from, in 2000, 12% below the poverty line. 24 years later, we're now at 70% below the poverty line in my congressional district. Not a single Republican has ever sat in that seat, and I will be the first one. And here's what's really interesting. Now that Ruben has gone on to the Senate, and he's running for the Senate position, but I am now getting primaried by 7 other people. Not a single one of them are precinct committeemen, precinct captains, state committeemen, yet I'm all 3 of those. They have not worked the Arizona audit. I've worked both of those. I then went on to Texas, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, Colorado, and Oregon, and helped with all of those audits. And finding out how the elections were stolen in all of those states and everything else. None of them have been to the border or had made light of anything here. Now I'm here for, I can't remember how many times I've been down here, but I'm down here again. I'm a pastor. I sent out thousands of religious exemptions for every branch of the military, all of Fortune 500 companies trying to prevent people from getting the vaccine. I knew from my medical background that the vaccines were not anything that we needed to take and were going to be harmful. And so I sent that out. And then, with all of the election integrity bills, that I've worked with Wendy Rogers, Sonny Borelli, Austin Smith, all of these guys that are in the Senate or in the House, and trying to help. Not a single one of the people that are now in the race that's running against me as a primary have done anything. All they did is they just threw their name in the hat going, okay, I can do this and stuff. And we actually even have a gentleman that came from Washington, D.C. You don't think they're not scared of me? They brought a guy that's a lobbyist from Washington, D.C., and he lives 2 blocks behind me.
So, Jeff, question for you. These people that are coming into primary, right? Obviously, they're trying to burn some cash, right? So that when you get ready for the general election. But do you who's behind them? Is it the Democrats or is it that dirtbag Arizona GOP leader that went after Kari Lake? I mean, who's behind, or both of them? Who's behind it?
Well, I think it's a combination of both.
That's what I thought.
We have the rhinos and everything that are in the establishment. We still have a lot to work with the Arizona GOP. The thing is that Kerry did expose Jeff DeWitt and what was taking place. And the thing is that it was a missed job opportunity that she declined. It wasn't a bribe because she has to be an elected official or she has to be an official in some capacity. And she's not that. She's a congressional candidate. So it's a missed job opportunity. But the thing is that the stuff is still behind it, which is we need you to go away and pay you to do that. The thing is that the RNC and the GOP have not supported me in either one of the campaigns. In fact, they've blackballed me. Mm-hmm. I've had every one of the congressmen blackball me because they said, "Well, you're a J6er," so they wouldn't endorse me in 2022 and everything. And I've been talking to them now that all of this evidence is coming out. Which, by the way, the evidence that was just released, that was recovered from the J6 that they had, deleted, that we've now recovered. Guess what we found out? We found Brian Sicknick walking down the hallway of Congress at the same time that my son was supposedly supposed to be killing him. Yeah. And that had been deleted from us. And so there's another Brady violation that we now are going to be filing there. And so these are the things. Do you mind me asking,
who is this your son's first attorney? Did he have multiple? Because I'm here, like I have friends that have been going through this, right? And I'm hearing about the bullshit about these attorneys, right? The attorneys in D.C. that are connected with them that weren't properly, representing their clients, right? And so some of them are switching and having to, hire new attorneys. I mean, have you had the same attorney? Can you talk about it? I'd love to hear.
Oh, yeah. So the thing is that the first attorneys that Ryan had were Democrats. They literally, they said, "Oh, we're nonpartisan and everything else." But then when we started doing a background check, we found out they're Democrats. And so they came to my son after about 8.5 to 9 months, and they said, "Oh, we have this great deal. So here we go, Terry. I'm going to present it to you as they presented it to my son." So, Terry, I've got a great deal for you. We've been working for almost a year, and we've got them down. So, the 6 weeks that you've already served. Time served. You're not going to have to serve any more time. We're done with that. And we did such a good job that you won't have any probation and stuff. And to top it off, you're not going to have to pay any restitution. Now, I don't know of any attorneys that could have done that for you, Terry, and everything else. Now, there's only one catch. The catch is that you're going to have to, register as a domestic terrorist the rest of your life. But that's okay. You don't have anything else to worry about.
That's all they wanted. To do? Yeah, right. No, absolutely. And it's kind of disgusting because people, like some of these guys that are locked up in the hole, right? The guys that didn't even get to go to trial, and they're using that to manipulate them to make statements that are not true, just like with your son, right? So they're forcing him into a situation where you see all this stuff on the press, right? These guys getting, 5, 10, 20, 22 years in prison, right? And so I wouldn't blame your son for being scared, right? To thinking that, oh, yeah, I'm going to get a good deal. So tell us what happened from that point on after your son was presented with this deal.
So he told them, he said, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take this deal. We're going to court. And so the attorneys that assured him, we are trial attorneys, we win in court, we're good, and everything else, dropped him hotter than a hot potato and said, we're done. We're not. And then they lied to Judge Boasberg about why they dropped him.
They did suck a retainer out of you and your son before they did that, right?
Oh yeah, $85,000 there, and we went on with John Pierce and Roger Root, and there's a tab of about $120,000 there that also and
have you guys raised the money for your son yet to cover those bills, or do you have a GoFundMe?
Ryan has a GiftSendGo. .com/Ryan Zink and we've always stated that if we raise more than the money that is owed, then he's going to donate 100% of that money to the J6 so that they can help fund other people and pay for attorney fees and everything else.
So Jeff, after the show, we'll put a link on our site, right? And Lisa and Jennifer, if you're listening, we need your help to do that so that we can help, and we'll push it out on Twitter.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And the thing is that now a lot of people don't know this, and I don't even know if I've even had a chance to tell you, but my son filed for congressional candidacy status and actually qualified for Congressional District 19 and is running against Jody Arrington. Now, the problem is that, again, Donald Trump is getting really bad information because just yesterday he came out and endorsed Jody Arrington against my son. So I'm going to try to. That what?
That's disappointing.
Yeah, it really is, because we went to Jody and we asked him, could you please speak up? And he told us, well, it's really it's a sticky subject, and it's the polling is not where I should be in part of this, and I'm not an attorney and everything else like that. And we just said, look, you have a constituent that is innocent, and granted, it was before the trial, but we presented the evidence to him and his attorney and everything else, and it's just like, are you kidding me? So yeah,
we're showing that up there for your son, and we're going to show that. And it's kind of disappointing because I love Trump. I know you love Trump. We want him to win. And,
I want him to win too.
Yeah. And,
but the thing is that because of a spineless congressman who is not helping at all and has been silent for all of the J6ers and everything else, we need to have people that are going to stand up. And so for me, I'm not going to go silent in the night. I'm not going to go quietly, and if you want to get in each other's face, I don't have a problem with that. Remember, I was a Division I football player. I was a defensive back. So I'm not intimidated by size or what you think you can do. I was used to pain. I went through, a car accident every weekend during football season when I was playing and stuff. And the only difference is that when I'm 20, I got over it in a couple of days. Now at 60, I get over it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Oh my! So I survived battles with cancer, 16 surgeries. So I used to collect money, beat up people, all kinds of stuff. And now that I'm an old man, but I'm here to fight just like you are, Jeff, for our kids, for our children. People, one of the reasons I'm doing this is that we're in a war. Most people don't know we're in a war, and we're losing that war. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to let my health issues, my job, my career, my children, my family, my country comes before any of those things. And I'm not, and I know you're the same. You said that earlier, right? We're cut from the same cloth. And I respect it. I respect everything you're doing. I'm going to try to help my best to get your name out there, and we'll push this out for your son. Do you have any closing statements you want to say before you move on?
Absolutely. So one of the things is that I'm here in San Jacinto, California. We're doing takeourborderback.com. Kim Yater and Mark Anthony and Jonathan Alexander, all of them are down here. We're going to be speaking. We're showing what is going on at the border. They're wide open. Katie Hobbs came out and said, "Oh, it's closed. We have National Guard and everything else." And then that afternoon, we had video that National Guard was not out there, that people were crossing the border, that it was all a lie. She hated that, but you have to tell the truth. And so the thing is that we're trying to bring to light this weekend, over the next 3 days, convoy from Florida all the way to Texas. We're going to Dripping Springs and then El Paso, Texas. We're coming from San Jacinto, California, all the way to Yuma. The only problem is that we've lost New Mexico. No one would pick it up, so we have no events in New Mexico. It's completely with Democrats, and so we have an open border there that we can expose, but we're going to expose it from California and Texas.
So, question: why doesn't Abbott start shipping busloads to New Mexico? Screw those guys.
Well, and that's kind of what we need to start doing is start putting more and more pressure, especially when it comes to, sending them to Albuquerque and putting pressure on them there. So my deal
that's like an Uber ride, man. You don't have to send them all the way to Chicago. Send them over there.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is that, again, we need to make sure that these Democrats are feeling the same thing, because what they're doing is, and I've actually documented this. I've flown and been in Mission, Texas. I've flown from Mission, Texas to Dallas. So I watched at the border where they had busloads that would go down to the river, would pick up all of the deal. We had high-powered telescopes that we were able to watch them load all of these people into the buses. And then when they came by us, they had all of the people bend down so that when you looked through the bus, it just looked like empty seats and everything. And so then they would take that bus and they would pull in and go in onto the tarmac. Now get this, they're going onto the tarmac and they're unloading these illegals and then allowing them to go into Mission, Texas, and they were not being searched. None of their stuff was being looked at, x-rayed like I had to. I even had to take my boots off and throw them through and stuff. And so the thing is that they didn't do that. And they're allowed to then go to anywhere that ticket is sending them. More than likely, it's to a Republican state and a Republican city so that they can flip that blue. And we know that the UN had a $1.6 billion we're feeding cash to all of the immigrants and everything else. Well, I was telling them about the credit cards, and Mark Lamb was talking about the credit cards, and they dismissed us for that and telling us that we were lying and that it was all there. And now the UN has come out and said, oh, yeah, we were doing that. We were helping supplying it.
So it's kind of funny you said that, Jeff. So me and my buddy Jason were coming home from Springfield when we had the first petition for Biden, right? And we're right behind one of those immigrant buses, right? So I don't know if you heard him say they were like bending over and stuff. So we followed them to the rest stop. It just happened to be right before a rest stop. I'm like, oh my God, that's one of the buses. They're dumping them off up by my neighborhood, right? With this exact same, the white buses, right, Jeff? You see those white buses and stuff?
Yeah.
So we follow them in there. We're like waiting by the rest stop. We're like, okay, when they get now, we're like looking in there. I'm like, I don't see any heads in there. So I'm not saying they were, but we're like, okay, that's the exact same type of bus that they're bringing up north, because we were on the way to Chicago from Springfield. It's like I don't know, 200 miles or something, 175 miles. And so I could see them doing it. And
Oh, absolutely. So if you like what you've heard about me, please support my congressional run and everything, and go to jeffzink.vote. It will take you. There's a link there. You can click on it. And you can donate. And the thing is that I'm in a fight for not only a primary, but I'm in the fight for going against a Democrat that was handed $10 million. So they're sitting there, no matter what I raise, to fight off the people that are going to try to primary me. But now we're going to sit down and we're going to look at going against $10 million and stuff. I don't need 10 million because I'm running on a Republican conservative Trump endorsed aspect, which is I'm not endorsed by Trump, but his platform is his endorsement.
Yep.
And so the thing is that I'm sitting here and I'm working hard over the last 3 to 4 years trying to bring to light. And if you want somebody that actually goes to places, I'm not afraid to go to the border. I'm going to be within, rifle shot of the border. And I'm going to be talking out about our government and what's taking place. And if you want to see that, then by all means, go and support me and help me. The max donations are $6,600 per person, $13,200 for a couple. If you want to do max donations, anything less than that, you can put in as well, and everything helps. But it's going to, I'm going to have to get onto the television, radio stations there locally in Phoenix in order to reach the Latino population, because 64% of my constituents are Latino. And let me tell you, they're not happy with what has happened. So my logo is, isn't it time for a change? And that's what I'm all about. I am that change, the hardworking congressman that actually rolls up his sleeves and goes to work and will represent the people and speak for them because they haven't been spoke for. So jeffzink.vote is where you go.
Jeff, yeah, so we'll push this out for you and your son on our website, right? Lisa, Jennifer, I hope you guys are hearing that. And without, because we're going to close up here with respect to this, but the Hispanic community, before this stuff started happening with all these illegals, right, infiltrating our country, I fought, my biggest passion was fighting against the porn, the sexualization, the indoctrination, drag queens. The Hispanic Catholic community is just like us. They don't want this stuff being done to their children. So we got to take advantage and capitalize on that, as well as these illegals that are coming in the head, front of the line. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you. I hope I see you soon. If you see Ben and Ann, you tell them I said hi, because I know we know them as well, and they're friends of mine. I love those guys.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm hoping to see Ben. He's supposed to be either in Eagle Pass or he's supposed to be in Yuma. I'm not sure exactly which one he's supposed to be at. And then, of course, Ann said she's going to be at Dripping Springs, so she'll be in Texas. But I will definitely, and I have been talking and texting both of them. So
tell them I said
hi.
We're
going to try to bring this to light.
Thank you, sir. Best luck,
right,
and we'll do our best to help you. Thank you.
You bet.
So that was awesome. I love that guy. And we have people like that all over America. We just need more people like that, right? We need people like you guys that are watching this show to help out. I'm going to put up his son's information, his information. Think about it, $185,000 to save your son. And we need guys like him in office. And you see the swamp, right? You see the swamp trying to, suck all his funds out to run for the primary. So I'm going to put that out. Jason, I want to show some of the stuff from the hypocrisy of the petition to throw Donald Trump off the ballot. I know I'm like running Paul Drabeck long here. Paul, long, man. We're running long. So I'm sorry we're running a little bit over, but you guys got to watch this, all right? Please don't check off now. You're probably tired.
We are.
So listen, I want you to see, we're going to have Biden, we're going to have Donald Trump, the scumbag Democrat piece of crap that's going after Donald Trump. You're going to hear him talk about how Donald Trump was responsible for insurrection, violence, and the J6 committee that is bipartisan, and that's their evidence. And you're going to hear what happens to us. So go ahead, bro.
And it should be rejected. There is no quote unquote knowing violation exception to the mandatory requirements of the Illinois Election Code of certification by each candidate that they meet the qualifications for the office they seek. If they do not meet those qualifications, they may not be on the ballot, regardless of the good intent. We heard some cases this morning about residency, about name change, and certainly in the case of the residency case, it is quite possible that the judicial candidate in that case thought that by renting an apartment in, I think it was Franklin County, don't hold me to that, but in Franklin County, that he or she was in compliance with the law. Well, you found he or she was not. I apologize, I don't remember the gender of the judicial candidate. And you didn't find that based on what the candidate thought was legal compliance, but rather on legal compliance. I want to add parenthetically that while it would not help Donald Trump here in any event, for the evidence clearly establishes that the certification that he made at the time he made it was false, he was certainly well aware that his conduct in seeking to prevent the certification of the results of the presidential election was unlawful, was illegal. He had been told so repeatedly by his own lawyers, by the Attorney General of the United States, by other high-level officials in the United States Department of Justice, and by his own campaign staff, as well as the Vice President of the United States.
This guy's a lying piece of shit.
Fairly fulsome record upon which to presume
he's regurgitating the J6 committee of Democrats. Sorry, guys.
He was well aware, undisputed, of the invasion and seizure of the Capitol, and indeed has acknowledged that it was an insurrection under the meaning of the third section of the 14th Amendment of our Constitution. That it was an insurrection was found overwhelmingly by both houses of the United States Congress in the most significant bipartisan vote in years.
Another lie.
And was admitted by counsel for Mr. Trump on the floor of the House during his impeachment proceedings.
Another lie.
So I think you could find knowing violation of the law quite easily on this record, but the truth is there is no such scienter requirement in the Illinois Election Code. This board is what is inartfully called by lawyers a creature of statute, and only has those powers that you are given by statute and required to undertake under the constitutions of the state of Illinois and the United States. I pause and note every governmental entity must comply with those two constitutions, regardless of what their statutory mandate is.
Except Joe Biden.
There's no dispute and no unclarity. What you may not do is graft new elements, new requirements onto the clear language of the Illinois election code.
All right, go to the next one. So we go back to back and I'll just jump in, right? Can people hear me?
So with all of those caveats in mind, that's the rationale in my mind, maybe
Donald
others'
Trump's
colors.
attorney.
But I would move that we accept the general counsel's recommendation that the candidate did not file a false statement of candidacy.
I'm sorry,
insofar
this is the
that
state's attorney.
there
They're
is some
accepting
sort
it.
of statement necessary I think that we do not have jurisdiction to weigh into the constitutional issue and to decide the question of whether the candidate engaged in an insurrection in violation of Section 3. Therefore, I further move that we deny the motion for summary judgment, grant the motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction, and therefore overrule the objection.
Can I ask one question about the motion? So is the board or is the motion suggesting that Illinois law does in fact require a candidate to not be disqualified by Section 3 in order to appear on the ballot? Or is this sort of an alternative that if the
It's in the alternative.
it's in the alternative?
Correct.
Okay.
So that guy, oh, go to the next one. So that guy there was like the hearing officer, and he said that Trump was he said even though they're going to remove to allow him to be on the ballot, he said Trump was responsible for an insurrection. So go to the
The
next
candidate filed a motion to dismiss, which was fully briefed, and a hearing was held at which the objectors requested that the hearing officer take, quote, judicial notice of certain records. The hearing officer's recommendation finds that the board does not have jurisdiction to determine the issue of qualification requirements of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, relying on the Illinois Supreme Court cases of Delgado versus Board of Election Commissioners and Goodman versus Ward, which are cited on your summary sheets and which we've discussed at length today. Here, I fully agree with the hearing officer's next recommendation, which
This is the
to
chief
grant the motion
counsel
to
for
dismiss
the
because the petition
election
fails
committee
to
that's
factually
speaking.
and
Chief
legally
counsel, liberal.
state a viable basis for an objection, as the allegations made involve candidates' official immigration and foreign policies, which do not equate to personally providing aid or comfort to enemies of the United States, and nomination papers cannot be invalidated over policy disagreements. I note that I believe the board has jurisdiction to grant the motion to dismiss for this reason, because under Section 10-10 of the Election Code, this board possesses both jurisdiction as well as a duty to pass upon objections to nomination papers filed to candidates. And this objection is so inadequate, both legally and factually, it cannot be said to adequately plead a cause of action for disqualification under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So I do not believe the jurisdictional issue needs to be reached in this matter. However, I do not recommend dismissing based upon the issue of whether Section 3 of the 14th Amendment applies to the office of president, as the hearing officer recommends, as it's unnecessary to reach this issue, given the recommendation to dismiss based on the legal and factual deficiency of the pleading. And it's also a controversial issue that the board does not need to tread into, in my opinion. The objectors filed exceptions to the recommendation, arguing the hearing officer should have taken judicial notice of public documents they wish to offer as evidence and made other evidentiary arguments that should have been made in their favor. They also disagree that this is a policy dispute. So here the hearing officer recommends, and I agree to the extent previously stated, that the motion to dismiss should be granted. Candidate has submitted valid nomination papers. The objection should be overruled, and candidate's name, Joseph R. Biden Jr., should be certified for the March general primary ballot as a Democratic Party candidate for the office of President of the United States.
So I think we missed the one where the I think we skipped one, but that's okay. So just keep going.
Thank you, Kevin Morphew on behalf of President Biden. And briefly, to the motion to dismiss, the objector's petition fails to allege plausible facts that would entitle the objector to relief. And that failure to fully state the nature of the objections is not satisfied here. So the motion to dismiss should be granted. The objector questions the candidate's policy, his policy disagreements, and then they make the conclusion that those policies amounted to aid and comfort for the enemies. And that conclusion of law is not entitled to any presumption of truth for the purposes of the motion. In entertaining objections like this, where we don't agree with the policy of a candidate, is very dangerous and would set a terrible precedent.
That's Joe Biden's attorney speaking about our petition.
Objection
Dismiss. Or
be dismissed on those grounds.
His petition to dismiss.
Even if they do determine that this policy, that this pleading standard was met, the objectors present no reliable evidence of any cognizable evidence that would amount to aid or comfort to the enemies of the United States on behalf of
no
the
reliable
candidate.
evidence that Biden has an open border
their
for America.
Submissions and exhibits that they offered are inadmissible hearsay. They cannot be truthfully relied upon.
Open borders
for
are
what
hearsay.
they purport to be. They did not admit any public records, and the standards of judicial notice, if applied to the documents that they submitted, they do not meet those levels. These are not readily ascertainable facts. And so we ask that the
Open
motion
border is
be
not
granted
facts.
and
Open border
the
is not
objector's
facts.
petition be overruled, and that the name of Josiah Biden Jr. appear on the ballot for the March 19th, 2024 general primary election.
Jason. You know, those lights in that room's kind of weird. You got that? Go ahead. You got it up?
Terry Newsom pro se as well, and as the prior counsel in the Trump case made a statement that he heard other cases mentioned earlier today before he spoke, as well did I when he spoke, and I find it interesting that we're being alleged that our information is not factual hearsay, it's political, partisan motivated, while at the same time we had to listen that Trump should be off the ballot for insurrection that was falsely claimed by the highly partisan J6 committee. It's identical as to what we're, is being alleged here, except the difference is with respect to our claims, we know that Biden ignored the Supreme Court remain in Mexico. He ignored that. That's not partisan. He ignored that himself. We also know that Biden, this is not hearsay, Biden left $8 billion in military equipment and weapons
$80 billion
in Afghanistan in the hands of the Taliban. And now we know that those weapons are being used against our men and women in Iraq, including one of my relatives that are out there. So that's not hearsay. That's not partisan. That's a fact. We also know that Joe Biden went to the Supreme Court to try to force Texas to keep them from protecting their own borders from invasions of illegals, drug smugglers, Chinese that he knows are coming in, including over 300 terrorists that are entering our country and being infiltrated, especially into Chicago. I think we all know that, and we're all experiencing it. None of that is hearsay. It's all factual. So I guess that, that's all I have to say, because as respect to the insurrection, there was no insurrection. That's false. There was no weapons there. Nobody went to overthrow the government. No one tried to listen to Trump. And if that's going to be a valid response from the other counsel, then that's highly partisan. These things that I mentioned are not highly partisan.
Do you notice how that light makes the back of my head look like it's kind of bald? It's kind of weird. It's bad lighting. Sorry. So I don't know if you guys. I think we skipped the second one where. I think we skipped the second one where that Republican woman. She said, I'm a Republican and I believe, I'm going to vote that Trump should stay on the ballot, but I believe he's responsible for insurrection and they're accepting the J6 committee. That's all bullshit, man. That was highly, highly, highly partisan. And then when we presented our evidence, I mean, Jesus Christ, the Supreme Court, Biden's not listening to the Supreme Court. They said, remain in Mexico, you can, use that. He refused it. He also went to the Supreme Court to try to force Governor Abbott to not protect his own borders. So it's kind of crazy. It is what it is. We're going to probably appeal it. I know a lot of our enemies are watching this right now, and I think we're going to appeal it. We're going to continue to go on to the circuit court and continue this fight. And I wish more states were trying to do this. And as I said earlier in the show, is that, I hope the Supreme Court does the right thing. I hope the Supreme Court throws out the one against Trump and the one against Biden. But we've had some crazy rulings by the Supreme Court, expecting different outcomes. So that's one of the reasons we did this, and we need to fight for our country. With that said, I know we went way over. I'm sure my work wife is I'm kidding, Paul.
Trying to gamble.
Are you gambling now, Paul? And so thank you for watching. Hopefully we can share some of Jeff's story and try to raise some funds for him.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe.
Tell them we're almost up to 500
Yeah.
subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, we're getting there on YouTube. Well, we also we didn't show that today, but we posted some of the homeless folks that are really having a hard time in Chicago, losing fingers and handicapped folks. And one of our posts got like 40,000 views, and we need to expose what the Democrats are doing to not only Chicago, Illinois, but our country, as well as the world for that matter. And they're putting our country and our children's future at risk for political power and control. And they're opening the floodgates of our borders, wishing that they're going to get votes from these criminals. There are some asylum seekers, but most of them are not asylum seekers. They're coming here for a better life. That's nice, but you're not an asylum seeker. They're criminals. They're gang members, and we need to fight back and try to save our country and our future for our kids. So please like, share, subscribe. Thank you for your time. I hope you like what you saw. Who do we have here next week? I don't even know. God. Yeah, I don't even know. We got some cool people coming up. Look it up. See you guys.
Maybe Rebecca?
Oh, yeah, Rebecca. Sorry. Rebecca's here next. Did you shut off the camera? No. Rebecca's going to be here next week. She was a teacher in California. She fought the crazy teachers unions in California, and we need help here. So please check in and see, listen to her. She wrote a book. We're going to have her on the show.